In the previous unit of unit vectors that I made, I showed you that a vector A that is 1 unit long will be represented by 1, 0, and we use brackets. Or I also said that we could write it as vertically as 1, 0. The 1 represents the fact that it's 1 unit long in the x-axis, and 0 means that there is no upward movement. So to represent the vector B, it's obvious that it will be 0, 1. And alternatively, we could write it as 0, 1 in the vertical way. And both of these vectors had a magnitude. That means that their size was denoted by this modulus, and we found it by Pythagoras' theorem to be a unit of 1 unit long. The same thing for our B vector. And then I introduced a vector C. And on examination, we found that vector C was not a unit vector because it was a vector which was represented by 1 unit to the right and then 1 unit up in the y-axis. And if we calculate its size or its magnitude, putting it in modulus, we find that it is 1 squared plus 1 squared, or root, and that gives us 2, the root of 2, which is not 1 unit. So for it to be 1 unit, it would need to scale down to the size of this yellow vector over here, which means that we would have to move it around in a unit circle, and it would have to be that long. According to this unit circle over here, it would have to come down here, and it would also have to go up the y-axis. Now, the values for this are given here by 0.707 and 0.707, which means that for our vector C, if it was to be a unit vector, it would have to be represented as the new vector C, which would be 0.707, 0.707. If you're familiar with trigonometry, you'd realize that this is an angle of 45, and this is also an angle of 45. And so from our trigonometric values, we know that this is going to be 1 over root 2, and that this is also, this side here is going to be 1 over root 2. And so our new unit vector C is really 1 over root 2, 1 over root 2. At this moment, I just want you to concentrate on what's inside this green box. We have a vector 1, 1, which is the red vector, and we have its size. That means its magnitude. That means its length, and its length is root 2. So can you see how all this relates to our new vector? In other words, what is our unit vector C? Our unit vector C is going to be the x part of the vector C, which we'll call 1, over its magnitude of vector C. And the y component of our vector also over our magnitude of vector C. And in our case, this was going to be 1, because this is 1 here, over root 2, over root 2, followed by also 1 in the x direction. I have 1 over root 2. Let's look at an example where we have a vector, and this vector is 2, 3. If we find its magnitude, then we will use the Pythagoras theorem, and we'll say 2 squared plus 3 squared, which is root 4 plus 9, and that'll be root 13. So in that case, our unit vector in that direction of V will be 2 over root 13, comma 3 over root 13. Put it together in writing, and that means therefore that the unit vector in the direction of V is that. Well, I hope this was useful. There's some more on vectors coming along, so please subscribe if you want to get more of these videos.